Hello, I'm Aaron, the Dungeon Master Dad, and welcome to episode 12 of The Adventures of Logan and Reagan in the Temple of Elemental Evil. In this episode, we reach a crossroads. It's the first climax, so to speak. The characters are going to defeat the leaders of the temple and effectively win the war against the Temple of Elemental Evil, but in the process find out that there's a little bit more to it. So, I want to start by reminding you of a poem that came to the priestess Yade in a dream from her god, St. Cuthbert. And I've got that right here. And the poem goes like this. The two united in the past, a place to build and spells to cast. Their power grew and took the land and people round as they had planned. A key without a lock they made of gold and gems and overlaid with spells, a tool for men to wield to force the powers of good to yield. But armies came, their weapons bared, while evil was yet unprepared. The heart was followed by the crowns and moon and people of the towns. The two were split, one got away, but she, when came the judgment day, did break the key and send the rocks to boxes four with magic locks. In doing so, she fell behind. As he escaped, she was confined. Among her own, her very lair became her prison and despair. The place was ruined, torn apart, and left with chains around the heart of evil power, but the key was never found in the debris. He knows not where she dwells today. She set Dominion's path the way to lift her temple high again, with tools of flesh with mortal men. Many have gone to die in water, flame, in earth or sky. They did not bear the key of old that must be found, the orb of gold. Beware, my friend, for you shall fall, unless you have the wherewithal to find and search the boxes for, and then escape forevermore. But with the key you might succeed in throwing down her power and greed. Destroy the key when you are done, and then rejoice, the battle won. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to explain what all of that means, because this is the point in the game at which the party figured it all out. So, they have killed 3 of the 4 elemental priests, and they've gone back to the 4th. That's Romag, the priest of earth, and they told him that the other 3 were plotting against him, so they took care of them for him. So, Romag brings them down to Hederak. Hederak is the high priest of the entire Temple of Elemental Evil. As a reward for their great service, he's bringing them to the service of Hederak. They find that Hederak is a priest of Ayuz. Ayuz, also called the Old One, is a native demigod, native to the world of Greyhawk, who controls an empire to the north of Furiundi and Valuna, the neighboring kingdoms. They're constantly at war with his empire. And it was Furiundi and Valuna who defeated the temple before, and now the characters know that the temple is a front for the machinations of Ayuz, that the high priest of the temple is really a priest of Ayuz, not of an elemental god. Ayuz has a consort, Zugmoy, the demon queen of fungus. So Hederak is talking to characters about how they have served well and they are powerful, and he is going to make them his personal minions. And in the middle of this discussion, as the characters have prearranged among each other, Bingo Bulger, the halfling rogue, puts his dagger right up into Hederak's back. The rest of the characters draw their swords to fight Hederak and Romag, who against this party, even Hederak, as high a level cleric as he is, he's not as high a level as our ranger Otis, and he's about the same level as Yade, our priestess. There's only the 2 of them. There are 9 party members. Hederak and Romag go down quickly, but Hederak grabs an idol off the mantle. It is an image of Ayuz, and it looks like a devilish man horns and tail and what have you. One of Ayuz's multiple forms. And with his dying breath, he speaks a prayer to his vile god, and Ayuz comes, to the great consternation of our characters, who have no chance against Ayuz. Ayuz draws his great sword, and with one swing, Merfol's goes down. Her head is separated from her body. The rest of the characters, they know they have no chance. Yade drops to her knees and starts to pray to St. Cuthbert. The rest of the characters are protecting her as long as they can. They're moving to try, as Ayuz is doing major damage to them, they're trying to change positions to last as long as possible, to give Yade as much time as they can. And her prayers are answered. A bellowing voice shouts, Ayuz! Sort of a big Scottish brogue, and in through the wall, bricks fly everywhere, comes St. Cuthbert of the Cudgel, the great god, sort of the World of Greyhawk's equivalent to Thor, with his great, massive club. And Ayuz, upon seeing him, he points and resurrects his two followers and then flees in a puff of smoke. St. Cuthbert, with a snap, resurrects Merfol's and fully heals her and everyone else, and Merfol's didn't even lose a level from dying. And then as he's turning to leave, he tells them, seek help among the hill giants. All is not what it seems. Rest ye well, and then seek the white gem in the red box. The white gem will take you to the white box. Go from white to green to seek brown. In brown seek red. Go from red to white to seek green. And Cuthbert disappears after Ayuz. Now, Hederak and Romag are fully healed, but so are all of our characters. And Hederak and Romag have no chance against these 9 characters. Hederak goes down again, and Romag surrenders. The Temple of Elemental Evil is effectively defeated. But it was defeated 10 years ago, and it rose up again. The poem says why. So we'll get into that, because now, knowing what the characters have learned about Hederak, and with the clue that St. Cuthbert just gave them, they're able to piece together. They realize they have to defeat the demon at the heart of the temple, or the temple will rise again. With the death of Hederak, they've defeated the temple again, just like before. It'll be another 10 years, but if they can defeat the demon in the heart of the temple, then hopefully the temple could never rise again. So they take Romag prisoner, and they make their way home to dwell on what has happened and to figure out their next course of action. And Yade ponders the poem as it is now all starting to make sense. The two united in the past, a place to build and spells to cast. Their power grew and took the land and people round as they had planned. The two are Ayuz and Zugmoy, and they built the Temple of Elemental Evil, and the Temple of Elemental Evil attacked and started to take over the surrounding land. A key without a lock they made, of gold and gems and overlaid with spells, a tool for men to wield, to force the powers of good to yield. They created a golden orb with 4 magic elemental gems, earth, air, fire, and water. The golden orb is in the shape of a skull of gold. And it is the ring of power of this adventure. But armies came, their weapons bared, while evil was yet unprepared. The heart was followed by the crowns, and moon, and people of the towns. The armies of the heart, and this is not heart like heart in your chest. This is like the animal, a heart, which is on the banner of the kingdom of Ferriondi, and the crowns on the banner of the kingdom of Valuna, and the moon on the banner of the free city of Burbamonk. Those three armies, along with elves and gnomes, had gathered together to fight the temple in the original battle at Emeraldry Meadows. The two were split. One got away, but she, when came the judgment day, did break the key and send the rocks to boxes 4 with magic locks. Okay, Ayuz fled. Zugmoy stayed behind to remove the 4 power gems from the golden orb and hide them. And she hid them in elemental nodes, pocket dimensions, accessible from the deepest level of the temple. In doing so, she fell behind. As he escaped, she was confined. Among her own, her very lair became her prison and despair. An area of the 3rd level of the temple is her prison. She can't get out. She is locked down there. The place was ruined, torn apart, and left with chains around the heart of evil power, but the key was never found in the debris. So they bound the temple with chains around the doors. The characters saw these when they originally came in. They couldn't go through those doors. Those doors are unbreakable. And as long as those doors are not broken, Zugmoy can't get out. And the golden orb was never found. He knows not where she dwells today. She set the minions' path the way to lift her temple up again with tools of flesh with mortal men. So the temple has risen again, and now it's fallen again. But when they originally had heard this poem, the temple had risen again. Many now have gone to die in water, flame, and earth or sky. They did not bear the key of old that must be found, the orb of gold. If you go into the elemental nodes, you can't get back out. The only way to get back out is to get all 4 power gems, which are in the nodes. But in order to use them to get out, you also have to have their container, the golden orb, which is hidden and has not been found. Beware, my friend, for you shall fail, or you shall fall. I did that before. Beware, my friend, for you shall fall unless you have the wherewithal to find and search the boxes 4 and then escape forevermore. They have to go into the 4 nodes, earth, air, fire, and water. The 4 boxes, as St. Cuthbert referred to them, the brown box, the red box, the white box, the green box. Okay? You have to go into them to find the 4 gems. Only when you have all 4 gems in the orb can you get back out again. But why do it? Because the other powers of the orb, which they will learn as they get them, is what will help them to defeat Zugmoy. But with the key you might succeed in throwing down her power and greed. Destroy the key when you are done, and then rejoice, the battle won. So now we know what has to be done. And now we know why, even though we were at a climactic point in the story, we're only halfway done with the Temple of Elemental Evil. Because they have to find this golden orb, among other things they need to find, before they can go into the elemental nodes to look for these gems. They need the orb, they need all 4 gems before they can defeat Zugmoy. But there's other things they need too. They have to find the missing elves that are somewhere in these levels they haven't found yet. And they have to find Prince Thrommel, who they figured out is somewhere on level 3. So they're going to have to search every level of the Temple of Elemental Evil, every room, until they found the things they need to find. Because if they go into the nodes without that golden orb, they will be lost there. Now, they're no longer pretending to be evil minions of the temple, so they want to be able to come and go as they will, at their will. So they will start their mopping up operation of the temple with the Northern Watchtower. The assault on the Northern Watchtower will be the subject of our next episode. Until then, remember, don't kill your kids' characters. That's what the NPCs are for. Ask Myrtle. She knows.